Did someone just say dachshund? Today we're going to be making a little felted version. Let's get started. Hi friends, my name is Allison and I am the artist behind Little Felted Friends. On to the next breed in our 5-part series of needle felting kits for beginners. This one might be one of my favorites. This is Honeydew the Dachshund. When I was putting these kits together, I really wanted to focus on little special details that make everyone feel like a real dog. Each kit is modeled after an inspiration of mine. Today, this is Honeydew. We have a little instruction booklet that has templates for you to compare to, our wool, our needles, one fine, one coarse, felting mat, finger protectors, one on the index finger, one on the thumb, our little pipe cleaner legs, and a tiny heart inside with 2 glass eyes. All right, let's get going. I like to display all of my tools and materials on a flat surface. If you don't have a flat surface, you can also use the box as your little tiny desk. I'm gonna start out by grabbing a small weft of wool of the white, the tan, and the yellow. We're gonna pull these apart and start blending them together to make our base color, which is gonna be the majority of Honeydew. Honeydew is a very pretty light fawn camel color, so we're gonna mix this ourselves to the color that we like. Once you have the color nailed down, I'm gonna grab a weft of wool and start building the head. I'm just gonna roll it into a tiny ball and start poking away. Make sure you put your finger protectors on. I did take them off here just so I could roll the ball into a little more uniform of a shape. Moving on, we're going to make the little eyebrow forms and then snout. I'm using my needles here and doubling them up just so I can get a bit of a faster felt here. One of them is fine and one of them is coarse. With all felting, you definitely want to just pull your needle up and down. You never want to wiggle it when you're inside the wool. This can break your needle and it can become sharp. So here I'm going to grab a little bit more of our pre-mixed wool. I've made the muzzle and then I'm going to spread it out a little bit. This is called a felt webbing. And what this does is it makes the felt a little more uniform, but it's also easier to work with because it's a bit thicker now that you've matted it down a bit. I'm going to take my needle and push it all the way through until the very last part of the stem. This is going to carve out our eye holes. Now you can see I have some super glue nearby. I'm going to put a little bit on the stem and then poke it all the way through. This will just really keep the eyes secure and prevent them from falling out. I have sped up this video at 2 times speed. I cannot felt this fast as much as I wish I could. Once we've gotten both eyeballs poked in, we're going to felt on those eyelids that we already started making. We have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. The top ones are slightly bigger than the bottom just because they have to wrap around the side. I'm just gonna shape around the eye and then we'll fill in the gaps a little bit later. I'm gonna do this for both eyes. Here I'm using my fine needle. And don't worry if it's not perfect because we will smooth everything out at the end and add our little details here and there. The best part about felting is that you really can't mess up. There's no paint that we have to wipe away or cover up. There's no clay that we can't get back. You can really shape it and recreate it. You can't mess up. That's what I love about felting. Here I've made a little half circle. I've left one edge frayed and that's going to be our attachment point. So as you can see, once I felt it in, I can actually manipulate it a little bit by pulling it apart at the ends. And then I'm going back and forth between my coarse needle and my fine needle. You'll know which one you want to use just by the feeling. And I don't necessarily need them labeled just because if I know one doesn't feel right, I'll just use the other one. Now I'm gonna start shaping the nose. And as much as you want to make it a triangle shape, I recommend making it more of an oval shape. I did too much of a triangle here. and it didn't look as natural as I wanted it to. So we're gonna correct that in the end, actually. These are gonna be the little tiny lips that go underneath the half circle that we just made. Essentially, these dogs are just made out of shapes that you've seen a bajillion times in your life before. Half circles, long rolls, circles, ovals, teardrops, you know it. So remember before when I said that we were going to fill in the gaps later? This is later. We made it. We're going to fill in the front part and build out the forehead. Now we're going to build the ears. I'm still grabbing that light tan color that I mixed. If you really want your dachshund to be like a dark colored dachshund, you could add a little more brown to your mix and tailor it to your liking. I'm going to make 2 tortilla chip shaped ears. Actually, maybe these are more tulip shaped. Either way, you pick. So I'm grabbing my fine needle and I'm poking it through the edges to really make the edges smooth and capture any little frayed hairs in there. So I'm comparing my shapes to the templates, and if it's not perfect, we can always fix it later. You can grab scissors and shape it down, which I'm actually going to do a little bit later. And I'm poking it in, attaching it to the place, and then we'll grab a little more wool and felt it on top of the seams that we just made, so you'll have a seamless junction point. Now I'm just placing the ears how I see them fit, how I want them to look on Honeydew. And now we're gonna detail those eyes. So I'm grabbing a tiny amount of the dark brown wool, and I'm going to start lining the bottom mostly, and you want to drag the bottom lining out towards the nose, and the top lining is going to have a little bit less brown. You'll want to focus the top lining towards the outer edges, and the bottom lining will stream towards the nose. And here I'm using my fine needle. Now I'm gonna make a little bit more of our tan color. I ran out. I should have made more than I thought I needed. It is the majority of our dogs, so I was a little under ambitious. So we're gonna grab our teeny tiny heart, place it inside. We're making the body now. The body will need more felt than you need this time. As opposed to the other times where I said you take less than you need, the body will need more because this will be the mass. This is gonna hold everything together. You want it to be nice and sturdy. I put my finger protectors back on. And I'm gonna take both of my needles again and poke it all the way through. Double them up, so we're gonna speed up this time of felting. It just really helps when you're doing big, large shapes like the body. I'm grabbing more of my wool. I didn't mix it thoroughly enough, so I'm gonna mix it a little bit more. And now we're gonna make the hip bones. So don't forget, dachshunds have a really long body. They are known as the sausage dog, and that is for a reason. So make sure you make your sausage dog as long as you need it. And then we're going to make our little 2 teardrop shaped hips. Attach them with whichever needle you're feeling. I first started out with the coarse needle, but then found that I needed the fine at the attachment point. And I like to point the hip bones down as much as you think it should point up. It looks a little more natural if you start pointing it down. So now I'm gonna take my needle and attach the other side too. Don't worry, we are gonna cover up the bum a little bit more with some more of our mixed wool. And don't forget, just pull your needle up and down, back and forth. Remember, don't wiggle it. So now we're gonna cover up that portion of the hip attachment joint so you won't see where we put them. It's gonna be a seamless blend. And I left a little bit of an indent for where we're going to attach the tail later. So I'm taking both needles again, and I'm gonna felt down the head and the neck, attach it together. Don't worry, we'll take a little more wool at the end and we'll cover up those points. Okay, here's where it can get tricky, but I'm gonna walk you through it, and I promise this will be easy. Now, I like to cut away the middle portion of the pipe cleaners just so the fluffy stuff doesn't poke out in our little paws. The middle part is also going to be a good reminder as to where we're going to bend it. So that'll be your middle portion. They're already pre-cut for you. I'm grabbing some more of our tan wool that we made. You're going to put a little bit through the end and then twist it. So here's where we're making our paws, and then I'm going to poke that little edge through and you'll see the little paw start to form. We're going to do the same thing on the other one. You're going to grab your long weft of wool, put it through the middle, bend it, twist it, and then poke it through. So now we're going to wrap it around. And to get the wool to stay in place, you want to visually take note as to where the pipe cleaner would be and then poke around that. So try not to poke the actual stem of the pipe cleaner, because it might cause your needle to break. And this is a small area. I should have had my finger protectors on. Don't be like me. So now I'm just gonna felt it down a little bit more, mat it in with my fine needle here. It is a smaller area, and you can bend the legs to where you want them. I bent the little paw in, and now I'm just cutting down the leg because they have really short legs. We're going to repeat the same thing on this side here. So put it through the middle, bend it, twist it, and cut it if you want. If not, you can just fold it over. I'm going to poke that little frayed edge all the way down. A little bit more until I have it. Trim off the end and then twist it around the stem. I'm holding it pretty taut here just so I keep some tension before I put it down where it releases, and then I have to poke it down. So now I'm going to compare both legs, make sure they're the same height. And I like to place them on the dog where I think they're going to go. And it's okay if they're not perfect because we can move them around a little bit later. I'm grabbing more of my tan wool here. I'm going to just softly mat it down, but watch, we're gonna actually pull it apart. You can use as much strength as you want. You can pull it, spread it, and now wrap it around. This is gonna cover up the leg seams here. I'm gonna poke it back in. I'm using the coarse needle just because it's a bigger body area. These are going to be our two hind legs. I'm doing the tiniest little teardrop shapes with our tan wool. I made these a little bit lighter just because Honeydew has some light, fluffy paws. And I'm leaving one edge frayed, and that's going to be our attachment point. I've got my two little hind legs. I'm rolling them just to make it a little more smooth, a little more uniform. You can trim the frayed edges if you want, but rolling it is actually a little easier, and it is almost like dough or clay in a way. I'm attaching it to where I think it looks good and sits up straight. I like to put it on the table, make sure it's aligned and sitting upright, straight, all by itself. Now for the fun part, her fluffy little tail. So you'll notice that we're going to make it this super light tan color, and then later on we'll add the dark coloring. We actually made Honeydew completely tan, but that's because the fun part is adding her Merle coat at the very end. So I've detached it in the center, Now I'm grabbing my dark colored wool. And here's where we can get creative. You can choose if you want to make your dachshund match Honeydew with her Merle color, or you can make it all tan or all dark brown. It's really up to you. You can get creative here. If you have a dog that looks similar to Honeydew or to any of the other kits, you can kind of combine the kits and try to make your own dog. I would love to see if you guys who had a different breed than these, or a super mutt, a super mixed breed, I think you could combine whatever kits you think have the right colors and match your own puppy dog. I would love to see that. I'm adding some more dark brown to the center. I'm gonna kind of outline the eyes and make the eyes pop a little bit more, and do the lips again with the dark brown. Sometimes the colors do get a little bit lost towards the end after you've poked a lot. Okay, a Honeydew does have some really cute fluffy feet, so I added a little extra fuzz here just for fun, and I had extra. And there she is! You did it! Your little mini Honeydew! I'd love to see what you guys made. Next up, we have Tucker the Husky. Same time next week.